We have a major Pascal Siakam trade update to discuss as it has a serious impact on the Toronto Raptors' flexibility come this summer. So we'll discuss that, including Bobby Webster commenting on the Raptors' next major focus for the offseason and the Fred VanVleet rumors picking back up. So lots of crazy stuff to break down, but before we do, we have a very exciting announcement as this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, which is Canada's largest apartment hunting network. They have the most rental listings all across Canada, and you can rent apartments, houses, condos, anything you want, and they're in literally every single city. I mean, Toronto, Vancouver, St. John's, where I'm to right now, and they have a very slick, clean website that's easy to use, easy to find your favorite, spots that you're looking for around the city you're looking to move to, looking to rent in. So shout out to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. You can check out their blue signs probably in driveways across Canada, their billboards across Canada, and if you're looking for a rental, definitely check the link down below. Their website is linked in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. Definitely check them out. They're the best place to find any sort of rental you're looking for. But let's dive into the news, and the first thing we're taking a look at is the Toronto Raptors major update for Pascal Siakam and what his sort of future entails with the Toronto Raptors. Now, there's been a lot of rumors for Toronto Raptors stars over the course of this offseason. Right, Pascal's named in a bunch of rumors, OG's named in a bunch of reports, but Pascal Siakam is the main trade chip, is the main piece for this Toronto Raptors team, and is the guy that's going to command the most value out there on the open market. But Chris Haynes came out with a major report regarding Pascal Siakam's trade status and why it's extremely unlikely he's going to end up getting dealt by the Toronto Raptors. So basically, Chris Haynes came out and said that there's a growing sentiment that Toronto star Pascal Siakam, who's on an expiring contract, would not re-sign with the team who attempts to trade for him, as his preference is to remain with the Toronto Raptors. So for some fans, this is going to be amazing news. And for me, I'm feeling pretty good about this report coming from Chris Haynes. I'm very enjoyed, and we'll discuss it, but other fans are going to be fairly disappointed, as basically Pascal Siakam being unwilling to sign a long-term deal with any sort of team he's traded for, no matter if it's a desirable destination, indicates that it's unlikely he's going to get dealt, because Pascal Siakam has insane value to the Toronto Raptors right now. Regardless of how you want to critique his play, regardless if you want to discuss, oh, he can't dribble, oh, he's an inconsistent shooter, yada, yada, yada. This guy is a multi-time All-NBA player. He showed up big for us in the playoffs year after year, and especially in the NBA Finals, put up some ridiculous stats, especially in that Game 1, right? He is a proven all-star caliber player, and he's the number one option for this team. He commands a bunch of double teams, and that's only going to be fed on to Scotty Barnes, only going to be fed on to OG Anunoby if we end up dealing away Pascal. So, say whatever you want about him. The Toronto Raptors are not giving him up for nothing, and probably, and it makes sense for other teams not to give up a lot of assets, a lot of future desirable pieces to go to the Toronto Raptors if Pascal Siakam does not guarantee he'll be on that team long term, at least sign some sort of extension in an extra year or two, because 1-year rentals, while some Raptors fans, including myself, may have a high opinion on 1-year rentals, given we took in a 1-year rental and won an NBA championship, but Pascal Siakam isn't the level of a Kawhi Leonard, and even Kawhi didn't net back a serious return for the Spurs. I mean, DeMar DeRozan was great, but he was coming off one of his worst playoff flameouts, to the LeBronto era, and Jakob Poeltl wasn't the major asset he was, at least at this point, when we traded back for him in this most recent trade deadline. So Pascal Siakam, given the fact he's unwilling to really re-sign with the team long-term, means he's not going to get traded. That's just my take on it. Unless some teams is willing to take the risk and make that sort of push, Pascal Siakam will remain a Toronto Raptor, in my view, going into next season. And that's why I'm a little bit enjoyed as well, because watching the Toronto Raptors, obviously I'm a young fan. There's a lot of fans out there that have been watching longer than I, as, even when I was 3 years old, started watching the Raptors. Didn't catch the Vince Carter era, didn't catch the T-Mac era, all that sort of stuff, the Damian Stoudemire. Right, I was barely born at that point. But in my years in Raptors fandom, star players have rarely committed long-term and said, hey, I want to be here, I want to be with this team. And yes, DeMar DeRozan was a guy that did that. Kyle Lowry, he always come free agency season, right, would always test the waters, dip his toes into other teams, have interviews with other squads. But the fact that this offseason we've had both Gary Trent Jr., who had a player option that, in my opinion, probably could have netted more money out there on the open market than the $18 million that he was guaranteed for this season, right? Could have got a longer term deal, could have got something else, but he decided to stay in Toronto. Said he loved the city, loved the fans, loved the whole organization. Now, with the new coach, right, the new locker room, the vibes amping up. Gary Trent Sr. had some comments on this on the Raptors show, I believe. So, with the new sort of revamped, the turmoil potentially going away for next season, Gary Trent Jr. wanted to stay with the Toronto Raptors. So that's huge to see. And now, once again, the number one option on this Raptors squad desires to stay here long term. He wants to remain in Toronto, and that's however you want to spin it. No pun intended, talking about Pascal Siakam. Pascal wanting to stay long term is just a huge W for this organization. And we have to take that into account. Sure, you might want to say, hey, DeJounte Murray for Pascal Siakam, two all-star caliber players, this, that, and whatever. Maybe Murray's a better fit, but you have to factor in that a star player who's homegrown here would want to stay with the organization. You just don't do a flat level trade for something like that. So I know, even me, I want to see some shakeups. I want to see something different coming back to this Toronto Raptors team next season. I don't think it's smart to just get a new coach, draft a few guys, even though with potentially Otto Porter Jr. back healthy, but that's not a safe bet. But Grady Dick also coming in as well. Jeff Doughton potentially getting more minutes, right? A few undrafted free agents we signed or in Summer League that I'll discuss in the next video, right? The team will be revamped a little bit. I do think we do need some sort of shakeup to the core. Just a minor one, see something that's happened. I don't know. I am emotionally attached to these guys, right? I get both sides of it, right? I get why some people want to trade Pascal, some people don't. But regardless, it is a huge W that Pascal wants to stay long term. And the Raptors aren't going to deal him because the packages that were in return, sure, Scoot Henderson would have been cool for in a rebuilding direction and all that. That didn't happen, and now there isn't any intriguing packages in my eye, unless the Atlanta Hawks somehow gave us 1,000 first-round picks alongside DeJounte Murray. But let me know your thoughts on this whole situation, as Bobby Webster and Michael Grange came out with a report discussing something Bobby Webster was saying, discussing the whole situation about the Raptors running it back, everything that's going on with the team, and basically, wrong button there, but the noise should pick up again in the coming days as they begin, the Toronto Raptors, negotiating free agents. The Raptors have two significant ones in Jakob Poeltl and Fred VanVleet, and they had significant trade on draft night, or had there been a significant trade on draft night, or in the lead up to its questions around signing the two key veterans might have been intensified. But keeping the pick, and with news earlier that Gary Trent Jr. will be coming back, it's easier to project that the Toronto Raptors will indeed return with most of the key pieces of the roster they finished last season with intact. So basically, Michael Grange is saying it's likely that the Raptors will bring back their core group, most of the key pieces, which I think is interestingly worded. Not saying all, but most. And Bobby Webster said this is his major focus over the next few days, saying that we have big free agents, and that will be for the next week. We'll be able to decide. We'll talk to them and see where they are, and we'll enjoy another week of the news cycle and all the rumors and gossip. Well, you guys know all the rumors and gossip will be delivered here on the Raptors Digest, so definitely subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up. I think Bobby Webster is plugging us there. That's my take. That's how I'm running with it. We're pushing for 29,000 subs. Let's get it rocking. But I don't know. Michael Grange saying it's more likely to be running back. Most of the key pieces returning. I think Fred VanVleet is sort of the guy that could be the odd man out, and that sort of leads us into our next set of rumors that have really percolated, dominated a lot of Raptors discussion, at least amongst my friend group, the people I've been chatting with, and a potential Fred VanVleet sign and trade with the Chicago Bulls is something people are discussing now at this point. Interestingly, because of an Eric Koreen article that came out a month ago, basically saying that throwing out a potential trade, saying that it's likely or a strong possibility Fred VanVleet could go back to the Chicago Bulls, and it could be a sign and trade where Fred VanVleet's worth up to $31.5 million, and the Toronto Raptors could get Lonzo Ball and Patrick Williams in return. So obviously Eric Koreen is an insider, works for The Athletic, is a beat reporter for the Toronto Raptors, knows his stuff, but the spark for all this discussion, this Fred VanVleet rumors that are popping up right now, are from an article was written about a month ago. There's no new insights here. So stop flooding the DMs with all these Chicago Bulls, Fred VanVleet guarantees they're going to happen. The most recent info we've received pushed out to the Toronto Raptors, from the Toronto Raptors, from the reporters, from all the insiders, is that there's a strong possibility Fred could also come back. So we'll see what ends up happening. But in terms of that potential trade, that hypothetical trade with the Chicago Bulls, I'm definitely taking that if I'm the Toronto Raptors. I mean, Lonzo Ball, sure, he'll be out for all of next season. Could be a risky contract to sort of bring in, but Patrick Williams, for a guy that's probably going to walk for nothing, right? I'm saying this if Fred VanVleet were to leave, Patrick Williams will be a huge asset to bring back. I mean, the guy, 4th pick a few seasons ago, 10 points, 4 rebounds, right? 1 block, 1 steal a night, but is an elite 3-point shooter, is an elite defender, and I know we're trying to get away from the Toronto Raptors mold, but this guy can actually knock down threes, can actually play defense, and we just drafted Grady Dick. We brought in a center last season. There's no reason we can't still add some long, wiry wings that shoot threes and play defense. So that's something to definitely take a look at there. And there's another team that's trying to blow up their squad, blow up their roster, and the Raptors could potentially jump in on it. And it's the Atlanta Hawks selling off some assets. They're basically told by their ownership to get under the luxury tax line. It's kind of an emergency for a lot of organizations across the NBA. And the Atlanta Hawks are basically willing to give up DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Clint Capella. They've all been mentioned in various trade talks in order for the team to get under the luxury tax. So if the Raptors are looking to get any of those guys, they are out there on the market. If Jakob Poeltl does walk, trading for Clint Capella, especially in a salary dump or something, we'll have some open cap space with Jakob Poeltl gone. Wouldn't be a bad guy to sort of bring in as sort of a filler, because we'll definitely need a center going into next season if Jakob Poeltl leaves. So that's the name that was sort of on my radar. Let me know what you guys think about all of this Toronto Raptors news. Also, if you made it this far, you're looking for a Rentals.ca. We're really excited about this partnership. Got a little long-term thing going with Rentals.ca. So big shout out to those guys. Great folks over there. So definitely check out the link down below. Check out their site. Great stuff. But you guys are the best for making this far. I'm signing out. Cheers.